Good evening, everyone. As we were noticing some of the news channels today talking about there being a significant number of heart attack cases in our state. The approximate number being about 1 lakh uh, heart attack and heart attack related angioplasties a year. Of course, as a cardiologist, this is a very gross understatement because lots of our patients don't report to the hospitals, which report the statistics to the health department. They get treated, which is not highlighted in the statistics to pick up. So, in our country, many of the times the diseases are not documented in the papers. So, I would say for every one heart attack that is reported, there'll be at least two more heart attacks that are not reported. So, we are talking about something like 3 lakh heart attacks or 100 heart attacks a day. That's not a small number. Telling in our neighborhood, in our presence, at least about 5 people are suffering a heart attack every hour, or every 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, somebody is suffering a heart attack. And quite a few unlucky of them end up dying because of a heart attack. But these days, because of the increased awareness and timely availability of the doctors and the hospitals in many neighborhoods, many of the people do survive. And the majority of the survival benefit has come from an angioplasty in the heart attack, what we call as primary angioplasty. So, knowing that there is a problem is one thing, but knowing what to do to make sure that you don't get the problem again is as important as the knowing that there's a problem. So once you undergo an angioplasty, you are being discharged home. There are many questions that go through your this thing. Of course, everybody who suffers an heart attack and is discharged do suffer for few days an amount of anxiety, depression, questions like why should I get this disease? How did I get this disease? Many a times which has no answers. But what we know for sure is what can we do to make sure that we don't again land up with a problem. Why do I talk about this? At any given age, somebody who has already had an heart attack or a procedure is more likely to get blockages and the heart attacks in the future, almost three times more than what is norm for that age, and the other risk factors taken together. So it becomes very, very important that they take a maximum precautions to make sure that they don't land up with one more heart attack. First thing, once you have a heart attack and undergone an angioplasty and discharged without any major complications, then the whatever I am telling is going to be applicable. ಯಾರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆ ಆರ್ಗನ್ಗಳ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು ಇಟ್ ಮೆ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕಬಲ್. First thing that the patients want to know is about their diet. Yes, diet has an important role in the causation as well as the prevention of the heart diseases, but many a times in a typical diet, there may not be too many things that need to be modified. There are no special diets that need to be taken for the heart patients. But then we all have lots of abnormalities in the diet that needs to be corrected to make sure that the problems do not recur. First, heart attacks require atherosclerosis, and atherosclerosis is dependent on the cholesterol. And our body stores most of the things in the adults as the lipids or the cholesterols. So whether we are eating fats, carbohydrates, proteins, if we eat in excess, It's going to be stored as a fat. So the first and most important thing is eat as much as it is necessary, going by your body weight, going by your physical activity levels. Most of us eat 2 to 3 times more than what we actually need. So cut down your calories, calculate your calories, and eat accordingly. After you have taken care of the calories, the next thing that you need to do is look at your composition of the food. It cannot be a sort of a zero fat, zero carbohydrate kind of a food. It needs to be a balanced food. But eliminate all fried food from your diet. Eliminate the sweets. Eliminate the foods that contain excessive oil, even if they are not fried. If any food, if you eat with your fingers, if it touches, if the oil is left on your fingertips, that means that's not a heart healthy food. So avoid all such foods. Then the sugar, as in sugar, should be mostly eliminated as far as possible. Maybe adding a little sugar to a cup of a coffee or tea is fine. But if you are consuming more than 2 to 3 cups of coffee or tea, it should be without milk and without the sugar. Avoid milk and milk products as much as possible, including the ghee, butter, everything. And add fruits and vegetables to every meal. And it's not just for a formality, adding one piece of cucumber or one piece of the carrot to the food. Yeah, almost by about 30% by weight of your food should be raw fruits and vegetables. That would be almost amounting to about 50 grams for the breakfast and about 100 grams for your lunch and the dinner. This much of dietary modification is what is needed. After first or second month, occasional indulgence into the food that you like or you want to have is acceptable. But when I say occasional, it should be maximum about once or twice a month. And in one go, when we are talking about diet, lots of discussions on the alcohol also come into play. First thing is, if you are not an alcoholic, it's of no benefit to start consuming alcohol. That if you are an alcoholic, there's nothing wrong in taking the alcohol in a small quantities, provided there are no liver issues or any other issues. Small quantity is like 60 ml of alcohol once a week or twice in a fortnight is permissible. Anything more than that, if it doesn't harm your heart, it will harm your ha- gut and the liver. So avoid alcohol if you're not an alcoholic. If you must have it, maximum once a week, about 60 ml of alcohol in any form. Though the some forms like wine are not as toxic as few other forms, it's not that these are safe alcohol or something. Next is about the physical activity. Everybody needs to do some kind of a physical activity right from the day of discharge. We generally talk about walking inside the house for the first 1 week after the discharge, no strenuous physical activity. After 1 week, after your first review with the doctor, you can start going out for a walk. I generally recommend 20 to 30 minutes of walk in the morning and evening to begin with, gradually increasing either morning or evening depending upon what time is comfortable for you to be increased to 45 minutes to 1 hour. And a brisk walk, not of a constant velocity across the full 45 minutes to 1 hour, is what is needed. I see many of the patients walk very brisk for the first 5 to 10 minutes and then they make it very, very slow. That's not acceptable. For most of the healthy adults, even after a heart attack or the post angioplasty, in about 45 minutes to 60 minutes, one should be able to walk at least about 4 kilometers of the distance. But initially, practice walking for 45 to 60 minutes rather than bothering about the speed. Once you are accustomed to doing it daily, then your speeds will automatically increase. Thank you. There are lots of other things that we need to discuss, will come in the part 2, part 3.